F1 News: Fernando Alonso sends message to Mercedes and Ferrari with major comeback hint. Mercedes and Ferrari have been the two dominant forces over the last few years. Lewis Hamilton has helped his team to the last 5 Constructors' Championships, adding 4 drivers' titles to his tally in the process. However, before that dominance, Alonso secured back-to-back honors in 2005 and 2006. He sensationally quit the sport after 17 years in 2018. And the Spaniard has claimed he would return next year, but only if he could join Lewis Hamilton or Sebastian Vettel. "You're always going to miss Formula One because they are the fastest cars on the planet," Alonso said. "If you have the opportunity to be with a top team with the possibility of winning, you will always say yes because F1 is F1. Alonso last week signed as a test driver for McLaren for the upcoming season. But the 37-year-old's primary focus is to complete the Triple Crown in 2019. He has already won the Monaco Grand Prix and 24 Hours of Le Mans. So he is targeting success at the Indy 500 to become only the second man of all time to win motorsport's 3 biggest races. "I'll do the remaining WEC races and Le Mans again, but my head is in Indianapolis and trying to win that race," he said. "I know it's the hardest of the 3 in the Triple Crown because I grew up in F1 and if you have a good car, you can win the championship. And at Le Mans with Toyota we had a very good chance of winning because we had a better car, but Indianapolis is different." Meanwhile, Ferrari were the quickest team in F1 pre-season testing last week. But Alonso is not convinced they will be the team to beat this campaign. "I think everyone was impressed in the first week. They've been very strong not only with the performance but also with the number of laps they put every day," Alonso told Crash.net. "But I remember last year it was some kind of a similar thing as well." Next news: Renault predict 5-way battle in 2019. Renault is bracing for a tough fight to be best of the rest in 2019. Acknowledging that the French squad are not quite ready to take on Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull, team boss Cyril Abiteboul said Renault is none less happy with its new car. Renault held off Haas to secure 4th last year, although Force India duo Esteban Ocon and Sergio Perez screwed more points than Nico Hülkenberg and Carlos Sainz though the year, with a mid-season points wipeout triggered by the team's takeover denying them. As well as last year's rivals, Renault face potential renewed challenges from Alfa Romeo and Toro Rosso in 2019, with both more tightly aligned to top teams Ferrari and Red Bull respectively. Renault impressed in pre-season, topping the timesheets in the first test, but Abiteboul knows the opposition has also closed the gap. "We were 3rd in the testing kilometers and nothing is fundamentally wrong with the car," he told Automotor Run Sport. "We are closer to the top than before. In our estimation, there is practically nothing between us, Toro Rosso, Haas, Alfa Romeo and McLaren. Red Bull is still a mystery to us." The Frenchman said stability in the engine rules has helped with that, declaring that there are not many differences anymore between what Ferrari, Mercedes, Renault and Honda produce. "But it's not the same with the cars. Given that Ferrari and Alfa Romeo have gone one way with their front-wing concept for 2019, while Mercedes and Red Bull have gone another. At the moment you have to decide if you want to go right or left, said Abitable. Everyone will have the same in 2020. We are looking closely at the Ferrari concept, he admitted. Some solutions are in CFD process, others in the wind tunnel. We have to find out if it's better to be conservative or extreme. Renault's technical boss Nick Chester said the Instone-based team is targeting a podium in 2019. I think we will see a very competitive Renault this year, he told El Confidencial. There is a big gap to the three teams ahead of us, but we want to reduce that and have a podium at least. At the same time we are looking ahead to the future. We want to be champions in 2021, said Chester. 2021 is when Liberty Media is planning huge changes to the technical regulations, and Renault's head of partnerships Antoine Magnan said, "We are already starting work on that. This year we must show that we are there, in 2020 we must be on the podium regularly, and in 2021 we want to go for the title. That is our plan," he added. Next news: Alfa Romeo in 2019, best case, worst case. Sauber showed some real grit in 2018, bouncing back from a tough couple of seasons that threatened their very existence. But that determination has been rewarded as they begin a new life as Alfa Romeo. In the third of 10 individual team previews, we map out the best and worst case scenarios for the Swiss-based team. Best case scenario: having witnessed last year's breakout start depart for Ferrari, by rights, the Alfa Romeo era at Hindwell should be starting in something of a fugue. It isn't, in fact the team seemed to be bouncing, and against all logic, that's down to the arrival of the Iceman, Kimi Matthias Räikkönen. In reality, there's a bit more to it. After a couple of years in the doldrums, the artists formerly known as Sauber are on an upswing. Eighth in 2018 may not seem like a great leap from the 10th place they occupied in 2016 and 2017, but it really was night and day, having scored points 3 times over 2 years. Last season the Sauber went crazy, recording 16 points finishes, scoring in 14 of the 21 races. Good though Charles Leclerc undoubtedly is, Marcus Ericsson would undoubtedly like to point out 6 of those points finishes were his. Sauber's improvement was a team effort, not a one-man band. There's a reasonable chance the direction of travel will continue in 2019. The notion that Alfa may become best of the rest seems a little fanciful, but significant sponsorship from the eponymous Milanese carmaker and a strengthened technical tie-up with Ferrari suggests they haven't topped out yet. In testing, Alfa ran in the middle of the pack most of the time, completing 918 laps of the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. Their headline time wasn't particularly rapid, but the C38 topped 100 laps on 6 of the 8 days, which, flashy front wing notwithstanding, makes it look like a solid, reliable platform on which to build. That is exactly what we used to expect from a Sauber, which is probably why they kept the chassis nomenclature. With regard to their driver pairing, Antonio Giovinazzi can enjoy his introduction to a full-time race seat, secure in the knowledge everyone is going to be looking at his teammate. Signing Raikkonen is a real coup for Alfa. While undoubtedly in the autumn of his F1 career, the Finn isn't ready for the bath chair just yet. Last year he did the fastest lap ever in a Formula One car, and 4 races ago he was on the top step of the podium. The new challenge seems to be making him happy, and a happy Kimi is a fast Kimi, though a dour Kimi is a fast Kimi too. Worst case scenario, Alfa Romeo did in testing what Sauber used to do across a whole season. They started very strongly but gave the appearance of fading as time went on. In reality, it was others adding performance that created the impression of Alfa going backwards. And this remains the potential stumbling block for the Swiss outfit. Having a works team name isn't the same thing as being a works team. And when the hoopla around the new name and the star driver fades, they have serious work to do if they're going to overhaul some of the better resourced midfield runners. Towards the end of the test, when nearly everyone was doing performance runs, setting their best times on the C5 compound, Raikkonen was down in 13th place and Giovinazzi 16th. They finished the test the 8th quickest team overall. They were faster than Racing Point, but given the Silverstone outfit tends to test a very basic car, it's not inconceivable that Alfa Romeo could find themselves bringing up the rear of a congested midfield in Melbourne. Alfa are on a recruitment drive, so it's quite possible the performance will come later in the year, but the maxim that early points count double will be doubly relevant if the midfield is as tight as it appears. Stat bomb: Kimi Raikkonen isn't the first former world champion signed to race for the Hindwell-based team. Jacques Villeneuve signed for Sauber in 2005 and raced for the team for a season and a half before being replaced by a young hot shoe named Robert Kubica. In and out like Williams and Toro Rosso, Alfa Romeo have a whole new driver lineup for 2019, with Kimi Raikkonen and Antonio Giovinazzi replacing Charles Leclerc and the US-bound Marcus Ericsson. Behind the scenes, after several years of hemorrhaging senior staff, Alfa are hiring. Jorge Zander departed the technical director's chair in the middle of last season to be replaced by former Ferrari chief designer Simone Rista, which is sure to be useful given the strengthening ties between the two teams. Another ex-Ferrari man, Jan Monchaux, arrives from Audi as head of aerodynamics. F1 Fantasy, get in the game. Will Alfa Romeo make your F1 Fantasy team for 2019? Head here to choose your dream lineup for this season. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to share and subscribe to your channel to get the latest sports news around the world. Wished health and success. Goodbye.